Look, all you motherfuckers been snitching for him and shit. Now you standing up in here and goddamn it talking about preaching preacher. Fuck that nigga. Fuck that. I'm gonna shoot your ass too, motherfucker. Keep on. You gonna get shot too, nigga. You gonna get shot. God bless the fool, goddammit. God bless the fool. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, motherfucker. Yeah. Y'all know the motherfucker ain't no good. You want, look.
Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life, get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Run up when you see me, no disguises. Keep that thing with me, cause I don't do surprises. J Chanel, show and tell, all facts, no lies, streak. Get your life, cause I'm the type to come to it at 9 quick. Eyes on me, what you care for? Watching me, baby, care for. If you ain't a fan, where the cameras? Hide in the back with the bellboys. My circle so restricted. Hands raised like it's your religion. When I sleep, pay close attention. Fake friends out here pretending. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Focus there.
Watch them cause they after me like a pot of gold. I'm not for play, ask Keisha if you don't know. I'm a little bit cray. Approach me, you better be right. If you don't come correctly, you can catch these hands tonight. Eyes on me, what you care for? Watching me, baby, care for. If you ain't a fan, where the cameras? Hide in the back with the bellboys. My circle's so restricted. Hands raised like it's your religion. When I sleep, pay close attention. Fake friends out here pretending. Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Get your life.
Get your life, baby. I got my why you can serve my mind, baby. Feeling me, that's why they killing me, lately. Get your life.
Get your life, boo.
Good morning, good evening, good night, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your nighttime, right time DJ Music, and welcome to another episode of the Chop Shop. You see it right on the screen. What we're going to be talking about? Anonymous. And since he's talking about a particular person that, well, I won't say he, but they, as Anonymous, are talking about a particular person, Nancy Grace, that's vying for the governorship of the great state of South Carolina. Since I live here, figure I'd speak on that. And also, why won't Donald Trump and his cronies and all them good folks, why won't they release the Epstein files, folks? What's so detrimental to them in those Epstein files that if you were completely innocent, wouldn't you feel more compelled to release them to exonerate yourself than to have all this controversy swelling up that it is now the focal point of damn near every American in the United States who is in those Epstein files? A lot of people will say, well, this has been going on for quite some time. So that is a valid question. In some cases, why that a case that should have been talked about in 1996, especially in 2016 and 2015, when Donald Trump was first vying for the presidency of the United States, this was known that he was a known associate of Jeffrey Epstein, but yet and still, this never made front page news. Don't y'all find that strange? Yeah, they talked about the Stormy Daniels. Yeah, they talk about the Access Hollywood. But don't you think that this story of Donald Trump being in close quarters with a known sex trafficker, him and this woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, was trafficking young women all over the world, not just the United States. And a man that's vying for the presidency of the United States, we heard him clearly say that Jeffrey Epstein was a good guy. And he likes him on the young side. Now all of a sudden, 2024 comes around and he rides the wave on he gonna put out what's in the Epstein files. Now that it's time for the Epstein files to come out, they say they have them on their desk. Pam Bondi said this. Everybody who's in it, all of a sudden, we all now know from reporting that Donald Trump is in those files. So what it is it pictures, words, letters, or something that Donald Trump and his cronies don't want the rest of us to see? But the backlash has been overwhelming, not only from Democrats, but Republicans. Now, before I go any further with this is my question to all you folks that support Trump. Let's take the politics that you say that you ran on Trump for. Let's take the politics out of this. You say you're a champion of women's rights, women's advocacy, protection of the women, because I hear that a lot in the YouTube streets, that we are the rulers. Not gonna call no names, but you know who I'm talking about. But yet and still, you still vote for Trump, a known affiliate of Jeffrey Epstein. Pictures say 1,000 words, folks. You can't deny the thousands of pictures of Trump in social settings with Jeffrey Epstein. You can't deny the thousands of pictures of Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell in social settings. And tell me, if I remove the politics out of this, that this would be someone that you would vote for. No one has yet come up to me and given me any of Donald Trump's policies. They want to rest their laurels on, well, yeah, he negotiated 5 wars. What wars did he negotiate? He told you folks that he was going to put an end to all wars, but he hasn't yet. He's bombed a few places. He told you folks that he would never put U.S. soldiers in American streets, but we see that. And some people will tell me that, well, it's not black cities that he's projecting. Well, the crime rate is much higher in the top 20 cities in America. The red state crime rate is much higher, but yet there's no National Guard there. In Chicago, in D.C., in Los Angeles, and I'm sure there's some other places that on this hit list. But before we go any further, let me introduce here folks. Let me tell you a little bit about the first folks we're going to cover, Anonymous. Way back in my fledgling broadcast career, I used to broadcast on a place called Golden Grooves Radio, and our website was obscure. I mean, when I say obscure, it was obscure. So one night as I'm broadcasting, someone comes in under the name of Anonymous. And within 5-10 minutes of this particular person coming into the broadcast Anonymous, there was about another 200 or 300 folks that came in behind him. And at this particular time, I used to do a show with a guy named DJ Mango called The Eminem Show. And I would always talk about political issues or black issues. So one of the folks from Anonymous got a hold of my email and sent me something about a particular black man getting beat up by the police. And he said, here, cover this. So I covered it. Minus a few other people that's guided me through this this thing called YouTube broadcasting. Yeah, of course, you know, Sean Willie. I wouldn't be where I'm at without her. But this is what compelled me to do this, because I've been associated with these folks long before there was such thing as live broadcasting. You folks weren't even doing Google Hangouts then. Okay? So without further ado, let's listen to what Anonymous has to say about the woman Nancy Grace that's vying for the state for the state governorship here. And I'll pause it when I need to. Y'all ready for this?
Blessed be our new founding fathers.
I am Anonymous. We have no faces, no leaders, no borders. We emerge when the powerful believe their secrets will never be revealed. And we speak when others are silenced. Tonight, we speak about Nancy Mace, Donald Trump, and the Epstein files because the hypocrisy has reached a level so grotesque, it demands exposure. Nancy Mace, a congresswoman from South Carolina, has built her image on the story of being a survivor herself. She once stood on the House floor, voice trembling but firm, accusing 4 men, including her own ex-fiancé, of heinous crimes. She declared scorched earth, said the bridges she burned would light the way forward.
I'm going scorched earth. So let the bridges I burn this evening light our way forward.
She told the world she had faced the darkest corners, of humanity. She presented herself as a woman who had seen horror and would never again turn away from the truth. Yet when confronted with Epstein's survivors directly in a closed-door congressional meeting, her armor shattered. Witnesses saw her shaken, crying, rushing out in tears, later admitting she had a panic attack, hyperventilating, unable to breathe. She said the survivors' testimony broke her down, but what happened next exposed the ugly game. Within hours of walking out, after facing women and men scarred for life by Epstein's machine, Nancy Mace took to social media, not to call for total release of all Epstein files, not to stand firmly with survivors, but to defend Donald Trump. She called him the hero of the story, claimed he was the one who banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, the one who cooperated with the feds, the one committed to protecting women and children. This is the same Trump who has been accused by more than 24 women of sexual assault, who was sued successfully for sexual misconduct, who called Epstein.
Now, for those of you who still support Trump, like I said, take the politics out of this. And for those of you who's about to still support Nancy Grace, Mace, or whatever the fuck her name is, take the politics out of this. These folks said they're champion for women that's been abused or been trafficked or been harmed in some way. How is that possible when you signed some papers saying that release the paperwork of the Epstein files, but it's already public, what we already know. The part that we don't know is what we want you to release, and you signed a piece of paper that said no, you don't want that released. After you so-called stormed out of a room, as you said, reliving your trauma all over again and hearing what those women had to endure. Some of these women are now in their early 40s, middle 40s. So imagine, just as you said, Nancy Mace, that you had to endure this trauma your entire life. So are those women. And you had an opportunity to allow some of these women to at least get justice. I won't say heal, because you never heal from that, as you said yourself, but at least get justice, and you blocked it. And if you don't believe me, let's look again. Let's back it up.
Donald Trump. She called him the hero of the story, claimed he was the one who banned Epstein.
She called them the hero of the story. Look, listen again.
Facing women and men scarred for life by Epstein's machine, Nancy Mace took to social media, not to call for total release of all Epstein files, not to stand.
There it is right there. That's that discharge position that would have called for the total release. Now, I hear the Republicans talking about, well, it's 97%. Okay, what's the other 3%? Why are you worried about not showing us the other 3%? Anybody ever asked that question when they say, well, it's 85% released, 97% released? I don't care if it's 99% released. What about the other 1% that you're not releasing? That's what we want to know as the American public. We want to know if we're voting for predators and pedophiles and shorty snatchers. We need to know that.
And firmly with survivors, but to defend Donald Trump. She called him the hero of the story, claimed he was the one who banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, the one who cooperated with the feds, the one committed to protecting women and children. This is the same Trump who has been accused by more.
Okay, let me give a little backstory. Donald Trump accused Jeffrey Epstein of stealing folks. Okay? Stealing his workers. That's why he banned him, Jeffrey Epstein, from Mar-a-Lago. Not because he was trafficking young women. Let's get it straight, folks. Because somebody going to come after me and say, well, this is why. No, that's not why. He said in his own voice, in his own words, and you can go look it up for yourself, well, I got rid of the guy because he was stealing my workers.
More than 24 women of sexual assault, who was sued successfully for sexual misconduct, who called Epstein a terrific guy and praised him for liking young girls. This is the same Trump photographed laughing with Epstein and Maxwell at parties, the same Trump whose timeline of supposedly banning Epstein doesn't match reality, because records show he continued to associate with him long after. He only turned against Epstein when his own name began to appear in the files. That is not a hero. That is a man covering his tracks. The newly released 33,000 pages of Epstein documents tear holes in the carefully built wall of excuses. Among them, flight logs, surveillance, video communications, and chilling accounts. A video restored what the Department of Justice under Trump claimed was missing forever.
And again, folks, at the day and age of you can't go anywhere without being Big Brother always watching you, cameras, do you not think in the eyes of the rich and famous that from the time you walk up or you drive up to their driveway, you are not under surveillance? So how can you tell me that there's no evidence of flight logs, of folks coming into phone calls, in and out, emails of Donald Trump's communications or anyone else's? Not only Donald Trump, but anyone else's communication with Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, he's no longer here, but the crimes that he did and the people he left behind that's connected to those crimes, some of them are still here. That's bottom line. Some of them are still here. One of them is the President of the United States.
A full minute of footage around Epstein's prison cell on the night he died. They had blamed faulty cameras. Now the footage is there, showing a guard walking toward Epstein's cell. It destroys their cover story. It shows someone was moving in that critical window. Epstein's death, officially ruled suicide, has never added up. This adds another crack in the story Trump's DOJ sold the public. Inside the Capitol.
Now let's talk about that for a minute. You in a maximum security prison. You a high security risk prisoner. The government is spending all this money to prosecute you. Excuse me. And all of a sudden, you turn up unalived in a jail cell. The guard conveniently falls asleep. Another guard conveniently walks away. I don't know how many of you folks, whether you've been in real jail, county jail, or the local Who Scout overnight, but they know one thing for sure. They take your shoestrings from you. They take anything from you they consider you using as a weapon to hurt yourself, because they don't know how some people gonna react to being locked up. Jeffrey Epstein was a high, when I say high profile prisoner, folks. How you gonna tell me the cameras all of a sudden malfunction at the time that this man met his demise? Stop it. Stop it. Mike, tell him. Stop it.
Epstein survivors spoke for hours. They shared names. They shared their pain. They demanded transparency. They said if Congress and the Justice Department will not release a client list, they will create one themselves. One survivor told reporters, "We know the names, we will compile them."
And that was another question of mine. I'm wondering why all the survivors hadn't done this earlier. It's not my business to say how people react to it, but since the government is not going to officially put out the names, there's nothing to prevent you as a survivor, you and other survivors, because from what I understand, there was a rally the other day with at least 100 of y'all. At least 100 of y'all Imagine. Listen, here's the old adage, folks. If one person says something about you, you can pass it off as rumor and innuendo. 2 people, you start raising a little eyebrow. 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, you tend to start believing what you hear. So if 100 people can say at some point in time that they either came in contact with Donald Trump, whether it was nefarious or not, you folks is missing the point. Just because he didn't do nothing but that particular woman, or at that time, that particular girl, that don't mean he didn't do something to one of the other ones. Don't that make sense? I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell did not sexually assault every girl that was on that island, every girl that was in that mansion, every girl that showed up in the back of an airplane. I'm sure they were not the only ones that sexually assaulted these young girls. I'm sure, just like with Puffy, there's video footage. Like Bill Cosby, they went back to the 70s to prosecute this man. So you telling me that they can't find witnesses from 2008?
They are tired of waiting while men in suits debate their trauma. They see Maxwell living in relatively soft conditions, despite being convicted of sex trafficking. They see Trump calling their demands a hoax. They see Republicans shielding the guilty, and they are done waiting. Nancy Mace could have stood with them. She could have burned bridges, as she once vowed. Instead, she cried in front of the cameras, then ran to social media to shield Trump. She tries to play both sides, survivor and Trump defender, empathy and party loyalty. That is not courage. That is betrayal of the very survivors she pretends to understand. Her defenders say she was genuinely triggered. Maybe she was, but no trigger justifies turning around and calling the man who shielded Epstein a savior. No tears justify whitewashing Trump's lies. This is human hypocrisy at its most disgusting. And make no mistake, Trump is at the center. He is not an innocent bystander. He was inside that world, laughing with Epstein, flying with Epstein, sharing in the access. The survivors know it. Experts know it. His record proves it. His bands and bands' latter story is nothing but spin. He once joked publicly about Epstein liking girls. On the younger side, he was part of that network until he could no longer hide it. Then, as always, he rewrote history to protect himself. And now politicians like Nancy Mace carry water for him, crying with survivors in one moment, then parroting his talking points the next. This is why survivors are taking the fight into their own hands. They stood outside the Capitol. They said enough is enough. They want every file unsealed. They want every name exposed. They want Epstein's clients, friends, protectors, and enablers dragged into the light. And they are right, because every day of delay is another day of betrayal. The hypocrisy of the GOP has no end. Trump warned lawmakers that signing the petition to release Epstein's files would be treated as a hostile act. That's not leadership.
Folks, I want y'all to understand what my man just said. Trump called all the GOP leaders, all the senators and the House of Representatives that wanted to release all the files, and said that would be bad for your health, basically, your political health, if you decide to sign that piece of paper. Isn't that what we call some form of witness tampering, or extortion, or threaten, or coercion, whatever word you want to use? The word you got to put at the end of it is illegal. But yet, the whole of America is all right with this, and I'm going to prove this to you after through with this Epstein and Anonymous. The whole of America is okay with what Donald Trump is doing. Whether you black, whether you white, whether you're Hispanic. The whole of America's, as you folks say, the numbers don't lie. So the whole of America is okay with this is acquaintance of a known dead pedophile as the President of the United States.
Yep, that's fear. That's cover-up. And still, a few like Thomas Massey and Rokana signed. Anyway, they pushed forward. They forced the release of these 33,000 pages. But it is only the beginning. Nancy Mace is now running for governor. She wants Trump's endorsement. She calls herself Trump in high heels. That tells you where her loyalty lies. Not with the survivors.
Now, I want you to think of that. She calls herself Trump in high heels. How can you call yourself Trump in high heels, Nancy Mace, and be on the side of the victims? Impossible. You can't serve two masters, as they say. It's obvious that what we see what's going on. You want the endorsement of Donald Trump so you can be the next governor. And you've been riding on this shit for years that she was the first female to graduate the Citadel. Big deal. There's always got to be a first person to do something. And if you don't think you didn't get preferential treatment at the Citadel, you are out your fucking mind. Folks knew not to touch you because all eyes was on how they treated you. The news was on you every day. You and those other women every day. So they knew they had to handle you with kid gloves, Nancy Mace.
Not with truth, not with scorched earth, but with her own political climb, her own career, her own master. She wants power, and for that she kneels to Trump. That is why her tears mean nothing. That is why her panic attack, however real, fades into performance, when followed by her defense of a predator-protector. Survivors will not be silenced. They will keep speaking. They will keep releasing names. They will keep pressing. And the world is watching. Epstein may be dead, but his crimes live in the networks he left behind. Maxwell may be in prison, but her silence is bought by a system protecting the rich and powerful. Trump may be running again, but his hands are not clean. Nancy Mace may cry, but her choices reveal the truth of where she stands. This is why we exist, to remind you that justice is not given by the powerful. It is demanded by the people. Do not let their hypocrisy wash away the crimes. Do not let their tears distract from their betrayals. Share this story. Spread it wide. Demand the full release of all Epstein files. Demand accountability for Trump and every name in those logs. Stand with the survivors, because without truth there is no justice, and without justice there is no freedom. We are anonymous. We are many. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
And there it is, folks. We are few. We are many. You never know who these anonymous folks are. Could be your neighbor. Could be the guy in the grocery store. Could be anyone. But some of us in the United States of America care about what the hell is going on. Some of us report on the hypocrisy of the Republicans. How can you folks as Republicans stand by and see Donald Trump trash this country? Donald Trump and his cronies like Stephen Miller and Nancy Grace and Nancy Mace and what's this drunk lady name? What's her name from Fox News? What's her name? What's another guy? Pete Hegseth. Think about all the folks. Did you folks watch what Robert the Senate whatchamacallit hearings with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the other day? The man is a fucking blooming idiot. Right now, a shout out to one of my listeners. Shout out right now. She sent me a clip the other day. Right now, You can't go into a CVS over the age of 65 if you wanted to and get a COVID booster shot. Some say take the shot, some say don't. But if you wanted to, because of Robert F. Kennedy, he is in that office to protect folks. But this is who Trump has in office. And what's her name? Linda McMahon. An entire group of fuck-ups, folks. Find me some good about any of them that should be in their government office. I'm not saying they're not good at their jobs outside of government, whatever. If Pete Hegseth was on Fox News, maybe he was good at it. I don't know. Didn't watch him. Well, we watched Linda McMahon, so we know she was a good promoter. On the WWE, we know that. I didn't, be quite honest with you, I vote in South Carolina. I never looked at Nancy Mace once. I didn't know she even graduated from the Citadel until she made it public. That's how much I was watching it. Now, the news folks, you know, they made their interest. That's why I could find the coverage on it. But it wasn't on my radar. Sure wasn't. But this next clip, folks, because of, you know, as they say, copyright, we can't see the footage, but we can hear it. This particular footage came from 60 Minutes Australia. So here is how the folks on 60 Minutes Australia is reporting this Donald Trump. You can call it a conspiracy. I call it a blatant, outright, in-your-face cover-up. And I dare y'all to do anything about it as long as I'm president. That's what I call it. So let's take a listen to it, folks. I'll pause it when I need to. But let's get to it.
Coming up.
Get there, and I'm all sweaty in running shorts,
Donald Trump walks in
you know, hovering.
and smirking like a Cheshire grin. The president and the pedophile.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
He's been dead for 6 years.
Trump supporters see Jeffrey Epstein as the devil.
But billionaire Jeffrey Epstein
We need to release the Epstein list.
I call it the Epstein hoax.
continues to haunt Donald Trump.
Trump really seems to be hiding something.
That's next on 60 Minutes. No matter the ultimate outcome of Donald Trump's face-to-face dialogue with Vladimir Putin in Alaska, just getting the meeting to happen is a significant achievement for the US president. It's clear Trump is not without talents. On his home front, he's been particularly adept in his ability to endure scandal. In the last 5 years, the president's faced 91 felony counts, 4 criminal indictments, 2 impeachment trials, and in a civil case, has been found liable for sexual abuse. Alaska, just getting the meeting to happen is a significant achievement for the US president. It's clear Trump is not without talents. On his home front, he's been particularly adept in his ability to endure scandal.
Okay, folks. I wanted y'all to hear that first bit. So we're going to play this again. The first number that should stick out to y'all is 91. The next number that I'm going to say to y'all folks, well, it won't be a number. It'll be like 2 words. Well, 3 words. The whole, well, 4 words. The whole of America. I've been saying this, and I keep referring back to the one stream that I was in that Classic Ruby invited me to. Why I say rewrite? Did I just make up a fucking word? Sure did. That invited me to. I was meaning to rewind the music, and I said it out loud. That's what happened. Let me rewind this, but I said rewrite. What the fuck? But anyway, don't make fun of me, folks. Anyway, Classic Ruby invited me over to the stream. So as I was listening to the guy, and I said, listen here. So many words. This is the whole of America. This is not just Donald Trump. The whole of America, you guys are based on criminality. It's who you are. Your heroes are criminal. Let me give you a few examples. Okay, here's one. Al Capone. How many movies have they done about him? Let's think of another one. Bugsy Siegel. How many movies have they done about him? Bonnie and Clyde. How many movies have they done about him? One of the greatest movies of all time that they swear by was what? A Jezebel. Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. They was talking about a Jezebel, a married woman that was about to go out and cheat on her husband. Do I need to go further? The guy that went into the University of Florida, whatever, the Hillside Strangler, what's another guy? The Iceman. Billy the Kid, the list goes on of the American heroes. Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, Wild Bill Cody. The list goes on of people that literally murdered other people for no other reason than the color of their skin. The men who tamed the Wild West. Some say that George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all the rest of them were bona fide criminals. They were wanted by the British government. They had a price on their head. But this is the whole of America, and that's what I was trying to explain to that man. That was some 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know why that stream keeps sticks in my head, Ruby, but it does. Because I was right then and I'm right now. This is the whole of America. Because this man starting off, I remember the first number, 91. Let's go.
In the last 5 years, the president's faced 91 felony counts, 4 criminal indictments, 2 impeachment trials, and in a civil case, has been found liable for sexual abuse. Yet last November, a majority of Americans still voted for him to lead them.
Yet, last November, 91 felonies, 4, 2 impeachments, a sexual assault that he was found guilty of, that he owes some lady over $85 million, not to mention the 26 other women that said Trump harassed them in some way, not to mention the Access Hollywood tape, not to mention Michael Cohen, not to mention Stormy Daniels, not to mention all the shit that we've heard about Trump. You folks still voted for him in overwhelming numbers. I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about the mixture of all you fools, black and white and Latino. What did you expect from Trump? Did y'all not think his name eventually was not going to be on that Epstein file? Y'all running around here talking about Umar. What Umar is doing is peanuts. Trump has unleashed his hatred of brown and black people and poor people on America. And y'all want to talk about shit of no consequence. Listen to this.
Now, though, there are chinks in Trump's armour. The reason is his bumpy handling of the so-called Epstein files, evidence that may or may not exist about the powerful connections of America's most despised pedophile, the now-dead billionaire, Jeffrey Epstein.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
2 things I wanted y'all to notice about that. How he answers it. He mentions the Fifth Amendment, but he also mentions a cliffhanger, at least today. So that's telling those folks that's questioning him, I'm willing to talk about it, but not today. But right now, I'm going to take the Fifth. Now, if you remember some time ago, Donald Trump said when he was talking about Hillary Clinton and the emails and the Hunter Biden scandal, if you're going to take the Fifth, that must mean you got something to hide. That must mean you're guilty of something. So wouldn't that same rule apply now to Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive? But unlike Donald Trump and a few of the others, he didn't leave us with a cliffhanger. He didn't, those guys, Trump and them, Jeffrey Epstein did. Yeah, I'm going to take the Fifth today. But what did he say? Let me see if I can back it up a little bit more. This is important, folks. Like I tell you sometimes, it's the small things that you got to pay attention to. Let me see if I can find it.
In the presence of females under the age of 18.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
It's the question that has consumed Washington, D.C. and the world for weeks. Just what was Donald Trump's relationship with the disgraced Jeffrey Epstein? And how much does the president know about the depraved world created by the pedophile financier?
Are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
A billionaire accused of child sex trafficking, yes. Epstein was connected to some of the most powerful people in the world. And despite their friendship, the president has long positioned himself as the man capable of exposing Jeffrey Epstein's darkest secrets.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
But a few weeks ago, after months of teasing a release of the case files, the Trump administration unexpectedly backflipped.
A review from the Justice Department and FBI did not find any evidence that notorious sex offender Jeffrey Epstein kept a so-called client list.
The fallout has spiraled into a full-blown political scandal.
Now, here's my thing with that, there, ladies and gentlemen. Here's my point, and this goes out to the survivors and the victims. I'm glad that y'all decided to compile a list, because the government, we've known throughout the history, since the history that I have been on this earth, one of the biggest scandals of all time has been who killed JFK. And for the longest time, they wanted us to believe, all through grade school and high school and college or military service, for the longest time, they wanted us to believe it was the magic bullet theory and James Earl Ray that acted alone, that from a book suppository, that he took a crack shot that not only killed JFK, but injured Governor Connolly as well. They wanted us to believe that. And the thing that wanted us to believe also was the bullet, after doing all that damage, came out in pristine condition and laid to rest on a stretcher. So they wanted us to believe. So the same conspiracy or lies that they're going to tell about the JFK, you're never going to get the truth from the government. You never will. And the truth of the matter is, yes, Donald Trump is in those files. To what extent? It'll probably be 30, 40 years from now. I may be long gone. Trump is 70-something years old, almost 80 years old. Father Time says he ain't got long. I don't care what you say. Yeah, there's a lot of folks that live to be 100, but there's a whole lot more that don't. And I'm not being morbid when I say that. I'm just being factual. Does Donald Trump look like he's the picture of health, folks? Look at his arm. When you got to use an extensive amount of makeup to hide the blood blotches on your hand because anything you touch causes injury. Anything that hits your hand causes blood to pool up, and it makes it look, it's kind of unsightly. No disrespect when I say that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. This is what Donald Trump is trying to hide. He's trying to hide the fact that he's deteriorating in front of us. The same argument that y'all had for Joe Biden, the same reasons that you would not vote for Joe Biden again, is the same thing that's happening in front of you. An old man that is rapidly, not only in mental capabilities, but also in physical capabilities, deteriorating right in front of us.
That Donald Trump, for once, can't seem to shake. At the heart of it is the friendship between the president and the pedophile. Is the president lying?
Oh my heavens, yes. Yes, he's lying. Yes.
Is a long way from Washington, D.C. It's where Maria Farmer has built a quiet life for herself after she was abused by Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. But as scandal has engulfed the White House, she can no longer stay silent about President Trump's handling of the Epstein files.
It's one of the most egregious acts of injustice I've ever witnessed. It feels like Watergate times like a billion because it involves children. And I think that what he's doing is trying to cover up his association or affiliation with these people.
Since becoming president, Donald Trump has done everything in his power to distance himself from the billionaire financier and his vile crimes.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
But for Maria, there can be no doubting the depth of their relationship.
Epstein said he was his best friend. He just said, "That's my best friend."
Maria was in her early 20s when...
Now, let me ask you folks this. Man or woman, how many times do you use the word best friend to describe somebody? It's not very often that you describe someone as your best friend. I want you to let that sink in. I think sometimes what people don't realize, you have to take conversations back to its smallest entity. So let's take this back to its smallest entity, folks. I want you to think of all the people that you've ever met in your life. How many of them have you considered to be your best friend? You might consider them to be a friend. You might consider them to be an acquaintance, but I'm talking about your best friend that you would tell the world. Now, I'm talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He was just not anybody. This man was a billionaire. So for him to say that Donald Trump was his best friend, whether it be financial or whether it be for clout or whatever for reason what it would be, to hear at that point in time, before Jeffrey Epstein's crimes was ever made public, to hear that was a feather in Donald Trump's cap. Wouldn't y'all think so? So I'll ask you again, how many people, man or woman, that's in earshot of this, has ever considered someone their best friend? Or do you have a whole lot of best friends?
She was hired and abused by Jeffrey Epstein in the mid-1990s. During that time, she witnessed firsthand how close her boss was to Donald Trump.
Epstein said when Trump and his wife divorced, Ivana, he said, "I inherited Trump and Ghislaine inherited Ivana. And so you'll see Ivana at the house a lot and you'll see Trump at the offices, but the twain will never cross. They'll never meet."
It was in Epstein's Manhattan office that Maria claims she had a disturbing encounter with the now president.
First time I met him was the night before I started my job. And Epstein said, I need you to come up to the offices. And I was like, it's 9 o'clock at night, you know? And I guess I'll just run up there. And he said, okay. So I get there and I'm all sweaty in running shorts. Donald Trump walks in. And he was really strange. And he stood, hovering and smirking, like all-knowing, like omniscient grin, like a Cheshire grin. So I made it was just an instinct. I made the ugliest face I could think of. And Epstein thought it was adorable. He walked out and he goes, oh, no, Maria, no, she's not here for you. Just like that, he emphasized, she's not here for you. He goes, come with me. And he escorts Trump. So here's Epstein's part. He escorts Trump into this other room. And Trump utters, under his breath, he mutters, oh, I thought she was 16.
Now, again, a lot of people, I guess in the court of law, they would consider that as hearsay because you really wasn't there. And since Epstein is no longer alive, you can't go back and say, well, that was the actual conversation. But let's use a little common sense here. There's some things, I don't care. Maybe when you're 5, 6, or 7, that's when you really start having those memories of what you can really remember. Some people say as young as 3 or 4. Okay, those folks are exceptional. But for the majority of us, I would say 4, 5, and 6, when you really start having memories of things. So when something traumatic happens to you folks, or something that sticks out in your brain, whether it be something good or something bad, you tend to remember that for the rest of your life. Wouldn't y'all agree? So I would think that this young lady would tend to remember running into Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at the same time. I think that this young lady would remember hearing a grown man say, she's not here for you. I think any woman in her 20s can discern whether someone is sizing them up for some sexual activities. I think any woman in their 20s can discern, like she did, to find it a little unusual that you called me up to your office at 9 o'clock at night.
And I thought that was just really weird. Like, it was beyond locker room talk.
Maria says she never saw Trump behave inappropriately, and the White House has contested her version of events, insisting the president never visited Epstein's offices. So when the White House says Donald Trump was never at Jeffrey Epstein's offices, is the president lying?
Oh my heavens, yes. Yes, he's lying.
And again, folks, that would be easy to prove. Again, I'm not, as they say in the YouTube streets, this 6-figure nigga or this billionaire or this millionaire. But I tell you what, you're not going to come to my house and not be filmed. The Ring cameras is going to catch you in the front and the back and on both sides. And even from above, when you pull up in my driveway, you are automatically on camera. So don't tell me that a millionaire, a billionaire would not have a camera system of the folks that's coming and going from this house, whether it be from the 1980s to the 2000s. Why bring up the 1980s? Because y'all like to reference Scarface. Y'all see the elaborate setup that Scarface had? That nobody climbed over the walls. Nobody came through the gates without him seeing it. Y'all remember the movie 48 Hours when Eddie Murphy and Taggart and whatchamacallit dove over the fence? Did them folks see them coming through the front door? No. They started shooting at them when they crawled over the fence. So don't tell me Jeffrey Epstein did not have surveillance. Don't tell me that Donald Trump does not, or then did, when he owned any property, does not have surveillance there. Don't tell me there's no phone log there. Don't tell me that with all the modern equipment that we can't tell how many times Donald Trump or anyone else called Epstein Island. Plane logs, anytime you get on a plane, whether you buying a ticket or whether you are traveling personal, you have to be logged on. Why is that? It's not because they want to know really where you're going. Well, that's part of it. But they want to know just in case they have to come scrape up the pieces from you from an accident. They want to know who they scraping up. I hate to sound morbid, but that's part of it. They want to know who's on the plane. Who do they have to account for? What family they have to get in touch with and say, your loved one is gone.
Yes.
The friendship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is well documented. For nearly 2 decades, they were well known as men about town. One, a notorious property developer, the other, a wealthy financier. They were often seen together at parties and events from New York to Florida. Trump was a passenger on Epstein's private jet, both alone and with his family. Epstein was even a guest at Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And in 2002, he described Jeffrey Epstein as a terrific guy, telling a journalist that his friend was a lot of fun to be with and that he liked beautiful women, many on the younger side. But behind the glamorous facade, Jeffrey Epstein was a monster. By 2006, he had been exposed as a pedophile.
Yes, ma'am.
Convicted of child sex trafficking. But it would be years before the true extent of his depravity would be revealed. By then, Donald Trump says he had cut him off.
For years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. Again, he stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out.
However the friendship soured, it's now under renewed scrutiny.
Again, folks, like I told you at the beginning of the show, you heard it from his own mouth. This is the only reason why he threw Jeffrey Epstein out, because he told him at one point in time, don't steal my workers. He told Jeffrey Epstein that, and Jeffrey Epstein said, must have told Donald Trump, fuck it. So he did it again. So the question would be, why would Jeffrey Epstein be interested in Donald Trump's workers? That's a question that no one asks. He could go out and hire other workers. He can hire Latinos. He can hire black women. He can hire white women. So why would he be so particular in hiring those women that already work for Donald Trump? I said this is an episode of breaking shit down to its smallest idea. So ask yourself, why would Jeffrey Epstein insist on hiring women from Mar-a-Lago when he could have gone to a temp agency, when he could have put an ad in the newspaper? He could have done anything. Why the women from Mar-a-Lago?
After President Trump backflipped on an election promise to release the so-called Epstein files. What is it about the Epstein case, these promised files, that's so alluring, so fascinating to Trump's followers and his detractors?
There were a lot of unanswered questions. How did he make so much money? Why were all of these influential people, from Bill Gates to Bill Clinton to Donald Trump, why did they all hang out with him? What exactly was he up to? And you have these real legitimate victims.
Will Summer is a seasoned political reporter and author. He says this issue has captivated Trump's Make America Great Again movement like no other.
I mean, Trump supporters see Jeffrey Epstein as the devil. I mean, they see him as a incredibly evil figure. And to be fair, I mean, I think they're correct. But they also see him as perhaps as someone who was the key to this larger network. This guy who was, in their belief, providing young girls to world elites.
Okay. What they really believed is, what they won't tell you, and this is the problem that I have with mainstream media, what they won't tell you is what they really believe. Donald Trump ran on this. Like I said at the top of the show, he told those folks that he's going to expose all those, dare I use the word cellulite podcasts? He's going to expose all of those Democrats and all those heads of state from the deep state that are on those Epstein's files. He did not realize at that time, or maybe he didn't think at that time, that those folks would take him seriously after the election. He thought that would be a dead issue. But those MAGA folks really wants to know, because they honestly believe there'll be some Joe Bidens on there. There'll be some Barack Obamas on there. There'll be some Bill Clintons on there. There'll be some influential Democrats on there. That's what's so important about those Epstein files. They was not counting on Donald Trump and so many prominent Republicans being on that list. They didn't count on that, folks. That's what the problem was. They didn't count on Donald Trump being front and center. Again, let me ask you folks something. If I was your best friend for 22 years, don't you think I would lie to have a whole lot of stories to tell about you, good or bad? I've got a friend that I've known for over 30, 40 some years now, giving my age away a little bit. But I've known KB for over 40 years. Know him so well that I know him like a brother. So if somebody told me something bad about KB, I would automatically call them a liar, because I know that's not in my brother's character. If someone told me that this story is about KB, I know that they would be lying. But let's look at the character of Donald Trump. He was known to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for over 20 years. So you telling me, can y'all honestly convince me that birds of a feather don't flock together? Can y'all honestly tell me that Donald Trump did not know what Jeffrey Epstein meant by when this woman is not for you, this girl ain't for you, come over here, I got one over here for you? Jeffrey Epstein already told him, oh, I got a 16-year-old for you tonight. So this woman that you hear talking must have looked young to Donald Trump, because he even said it. Oh, I thought she was 16. Jeffrey Epstein took him to another room. Where did he take him to? Did he say, no, man, go home? Is that another question that you folks need answered? Where did he take him to after he excused himself from that room, when he found that that woman that came up there in running shorts and sweaty at 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night was not for him?
Many believe the names of who was in that network lie within the Epstein files. More than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence of the vile crimes committed against more than 1,000 girls and young women. Some, like the flight logs from his private plane, dubbed the Lolita Express, have already been made public, but any kind of client list remains elusive. Earlier this year, though, the president was told his name appears in the files several times. It's not clear in what capacity, but the revelation has added to the intrigue about why he won't make them public. In a sense, is that part of why this has become such a big problem for Trump? Because on one hand, his supporters who see Jeffrey Epstein as the devil, see Trump as the man who's going to bring it all to light and expose it all and bring it all down. But then on the other hand, he's clearly involved.
It's something that's very hard for them to figure out. And I think this is why this moment has been so challenging for Trump, because they were able to ignore, decades old video footage. But now that you have this more information about their relationship coming to light, and then the biggest obstacle, which is that Trump really seems to be hiding something. And so as a result, people, even Trump supporters, are starting to say, geez, this is really suspicious.
Maria Farmer is certainly suspicious. Not just because of her experience with the now president, but because she alerted authorities years ago. She was the first of Jeffrey Epstein's victims to sound the alarm, contacting the FBI in 1996.
I want y'all to understand that 1996 there, ladies and gentlemen. She contacted authorities. I want y'all to do the math right quick, like 1996 to Jeffrey Epstein's demise. He was not held accountable. And when he was held accountable, you will find out that he got a sweetheart deal. Basically, he was just on work release. Now, you don't think the rich and powerful, like with Ghislaine Maxwell, she was in a Maxim security prison, serving her 20-year sentence for the crimes, sexual assault crimes, and the trafficking crimes that she was convicted of. But yet and still, Trump's cronies went to visit her, and all of a sudden, she is in a plush jail somewhere, living her life. No one's asked that question. And how do you allow a convicted sex offender to live a plush life? Usually in jail, shorty snatchers catch hell if they survive at all.
And documenting it in her diary at the time.
And I just remember trying to explain to this man at the FBI that children are in severe danger. And so I told him, I said, listen, I'm calling to report an international pedophile and child porn ring. This is a federal crime.
And it wasn't only Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell she mentioned.
I said, and there's this businessman. I said, he's kind of cheesy. And I said, I can't remember if I described him as a game show host or used car salesman or something like that. But I said, he's a prominent businessman. He's a New York fixture. And they said, oh, Donald Trump. The FBI guessed based on that brief description that I was discussing Donald Trump.
Her complaint wasn't taken seriously then or in 2006 when she repeated her allegations to federal authorities who were finally investigating Jeffrey Epstein. So when President Trump vowed to get to the bottom of the Epstein saga, Maria was cynical.
I reported him because I knew he was part of this gang. I didn't know on what level. I just knew that he was very much a part of it.
And as you'll see, the president's reluctance to be transparent has, for the first time, turned his supporters against him.
I expected files to be released and people that deserve to be held accountable.
In Washington, D.C., political scandals come and go, and no one's better at shaking them off than President Trump. But the case of the Epstein files has stuck like mud. Is this the biggest crisis of the Trump administration so far?
It is the biggest crisis, yes. I would say that the Trump administration is really out of step here and they don't know what to do.
Political reporter and author Will Sommer has watched the president try unsuccessfully to contain the Epstein saga. Will says it's a mess of Trump's own making after Republicans politicised the story.
I mean, Epstein was a huge issue. I mean, it was one of the major issues of the Trump campaign. I mean, they would go on these podcasts, on TV shows, and so people bring it up a lot. And they say, you know, are you going to be the one who finally figures out what happened to Epstein? How did he die? Who was he associated with? I think a lot of people really believe Trump would do it. So he's kind of hoisted on his own petard here. I mean, he revved up this base, and now when they're asking for what he promised them, he's refusing to deliver.
Disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein is dead.
When Jeffrey Epstein's death in 2019 was ruled a suicide by a New York medical examiner, almost immediately, President Trump publicly latched on to conspiracy theories that it was part of a cover-up to protect his client list.
There's certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there, because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera.
Trump really is sort of the conspiracy theorist in chief in the United States. I mean, he is a guy who built his political career on conspiracy theories and just sort of lies more broadly. A lot of his appeal is based on the idea that he builds himself up as this guy who will protect you, not just from Democrats or people whose policies you don't like, but from these really nefarious, evil forces.
And then the question you have to ask is, did Bill Clinton go to the islands?
And I just wanted you folks to hear that before we closed up here. Here was Donald Trump some years ago talking about the same Epstein files that he did not want to release. But you hear him back then, but he didn't know his name was on those Epstein files. He was quick to call out Bill Clinton and others. He even mentioned about how Epstein died. No, all of a sudden, him and his folks ran on releasing the Epstein files. Pam Bondi and all these others said they was going to get the bottom. They was going to release the information. They said that they had it on his desk, on her desk. Remember that? The list is on the desk. Donald Trump ran on it. But now, crickets. There's nothing to see here, folks. Move on. And all the different distractions he's tried to throw in front of us, putting police in different places, saying he's going to arrest Bill Clinton, saying that he's going to go after Letitia James, firing thousands and thousands of federal workers, interrupting the NPA, emptying out the housing for folks, food for folks, schools, all these different things that he's completely obliterated. You might not feel the impact now, folks, but like if you follow these folks that's on their screen, anonymous, you will see that a lot of folks want to claim it's black people. But let me tell you white folks something. Come closer. There's more of y'all than it is us. Now, if you look at the history of us, which we'll talk about later on, not today in this stream, but later, we are resilient. If you look at the history of white folks, when y'all lose money, when y'all lose fame, when y'all lose power, you don't handle it very well. And this one, there's going to be a whole lot of people. There's going to be a whole lot of folks that lose power, fame, wealth, and prestige. But then again, like I said, your heroes are manufactured, are criminals. The history of the majority of white America is based on the escapades and tale of somebody that murdered, robbed, stealed, and killed. Even this Robin Hood cat robbed from the rich and gave the poor little old hoop. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out here. Make sure y'all check out the next episode of The Chop Shot. And if you'd like to, check me out live on Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can come into the listening lounge, or you can check it out on the airwaves. I'm talking about the Music Cafe, where I play music from the decades, the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Hey, Classic R&B Jams Radio. But right now, you are listening to The Chop Shop. I ain't got nothing else to say, like the girl from Alice used to say, I'm through talking now. Y'all have a good one. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe if you don't mind. If you got a comment, go ahead and leave it. Like I say, if you leave me a nasty gram now, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to leave you one back. All right? So let me play this one time for you on my way out the door.
Look, all you motherfuckers been snitching for him and shit. Now you standing up in here and goddamn it talking about preach it, preacher. Fuck that nigga. Fuck that. I'm gonna shoot your ass too, motherfucker. Keep going. You gonna get shot too, nigga. You gonna get shot. God bless the fool, goddamn it. God bless the fool. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We're taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, motherfucker.